Hey everyone, my name is Jerry. Online I'm known as JerryPH from AccordionMemories.com. On this video, we're going to discuss my setup for the Zoom meeting and how I can transmit in stereo and have people on the other side receive stereo and hear stereo when I play the accordion. This video is going to be in 8 sections. The first part is the mixer. The second part is my audio interface. Third part, system audio. Fourth part is OBS audio. Fifth part is loopback, the setup for that program. Part number 6 is the Zoom application setup. Section 7 is the Zoom application audio settings. The eighth and final is the required opening of the applications and hardware in the proper order so this all works in the first shot, first time. So let's start off with the mixer. In my mixer, I use a QSC TouchMix 8, and this serves as a dual function device for me. It both sends my audio to the audio interface, and I also have the headphone outputs rigged to send their audio out through a pair of computer speakers in a 2.1 configuration. It's an Altec Lansing setup that's supposed to be approximately 150 watts per channel. They're actually made for a computer but work well for this setup. So in the mixer, I have the BK7M arranger that takes up channels 1 and 2. I have the wireless stereo receiver for the accordion in channels 3 and 4. In channel 5, I have my wireless mic receiver. And as I mentioned, the mixer outputs first to the 2.1 computer speakers via the headphone outputs, and then via the main XLR left and right outputs into the audio interface. Part number 2, the audio interface. In my case, I use a Zoom F4 field recorder. You can use any audio interface that you like as long as it has at least 2 channels. And this one is run in audio interface mode, and via its inputs number 1 and 2, it receives the optimized stereo signal from all the items that I have plugged into my mixer. And then the audio interface simply connects to the computer via USB cable for it to be able to send its audio from the audio interface device to the computer via a USB port. Number 3, system audio. In my setup, I don't want to just send audio from my mixer out to the Zoom client. I often want to have internal system audio sent out. And that would include things like my YouTube page, my computer sounds, anything I kind of like besides that. And the software device that lets me do this is a piece of free software that's called Black Hole. Now I take the free version and install it. Once it's installed, we have to create a couple of virtual inputs and outputs. And those are done by using an aggregate device and a multi-output device. The aggregate device is going to be our input device, specifically our virtual input device. And by us coming here, clicking on the plus symbol, and creating an aggregate device, we can rename this anything we want. I decided to keep it just like that. I then select Black Hole by itself and click the drift connection to minimize latency. I then create a multi multi-output device. This multi-output device, the first thing it does is it says I'm going to output to black hole or from black hole to the entities underneath that I want to receive the audio. In this case, I want to use my Bluetooth wireless headphones because they're light, they're easy to wear, and they have good quality of sound. Again, I am going to use drift correction on both these entities. We're going to use our virtual inputs and outputs a little bit later, but this is something that's very important for us to have. Also, before we move on from here, we need to tell the system to use the proper outputs. So on my system, under the sound settings, I'm telling it to use the multi-output device. Section 3, the setup for OBS audio. Let's start up OBS audio. Take a look at the audio settings and see how they're set up. So go to Settings. Let's go to Audio, and it's very simple. From the list of available drop-downs, make sure that you use your black hole, the 2-channel one, as your desktop audio. For your mic auxiliary audio, I'm going to use the multi-track USB audio, which is basically my audio interface. So it's my F4 Zoom. Once you do that, you're going to have in the audio mixer section 2 entities. So you're going to have your audio interface and your desktop audio, and it's going to be in all your scenes, which is just the way that I want it. You'll notice that I have preset the volumes. I've tested this and preset the volumes the way that I want, and then I've locked volume knobs so that I can't change them in the middle of things. The next device that we need to take a look at is Loopback. Loopback is an application that has the ability to redirect audio. And this is one of the secrets to making this work properly. When you create a new virtual audio device, it creates this pass-through for you. And in our case, we don't need it. So when you initially create your device, you can delete that pass-through, and then you can add the parts that you need. In our case, let me get rid of those two. In our case, I specifically want to only use the ability to send audio that comes out of OBS. And if you recall, earlier, I only have 2 things that come out of OBS. My audio interface and my system audio. Loopback is required because it fools the system and sends the contents of everything here directly into channel 1 and 2. The Zoom meeting app only listens to channel 1 and 2. And on top of that, if I was to connect OBS directly to it, or if I was to direct my audio interface directly into Zoom, it would only sound in mono on the other side. By us breaking that chain, inserting Loopback as the device just prior to the Zoom selections, we can have the stereo effect preserved. And we'll show that a little bit later again. Section number 6, the Zoom application setup. Now, one of the first things that we are going to need to do is we are going to have to go to zoom.us. And by us going to zoom.us, we then can create our free account. Once we have a free account, you want to log into your account. Okay? Once you've logged into your account, on the top right side, I want you to go into My Account. Let me bring this down a little bit. And then from here, I want you to click on Settings. And then you're going to look for the Allow Users to Select Stereo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just search for the term stereo. There it is. We want to make sure that this option is turned on. Super important. Okay, so that way when you host Zoom meetings, it allows users to select stereo audio in their client settings. Okay. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to go back to the Zoom main page and download the client. All right. So once we go and download the client, we need to install it. Me, I already have it installed. And we need to make some additional small changes in this section. I want to go and press on the little gear icon here. Let's go to the audio section. And we'll start off. I'm going to come back to these in a second. The ones that I want us to be mindful about. In the suppress background noise, I want to set to low. In the music and professional audio section, show in meeting option to enable original sound. Super important. High fidelity music mode should be enabled. Stereo audio should be enabled. There's one more we need to take a look at. Just make sure. Echo cancellation set to auto, not aggressive. Okay. One thing I also want us to be careful about, that is not to turn on echo cancellation. If you happen to have reverb on your any of your instruments, guess what's going to try to happen? It's going to come across looking like echo, and it will play with that sound. It will try to get rid of that. Don't do that. Leave this turned off. Now, the final two things that I want to do. In the speaker section, specifically, I want you to use the hardware setting for whichever device you're going to be listening to. In my case, it is the Philips Bluetooth headset. Very important. I'll explain why a little bit later. But please make sure you do use this one and not your virtual devices, okay? Use your hardware. For the microphone, now, remember when we had loopback? When we created our virtual device, we gave it a name. You can change that name by clicking here. Okay, that is what we want to appear in the microphone section. I also want you to deselect the automatically adjust and set this to maximum. You have the ability to turn this down and up and down either through here, or if you still want to have a little bit of control, you can do it through your audio interface settings here and your desktop audio settings here in OBS, which is my preferred method of doing it. So just to go back a couple of steps, wireless Bluetooth headset right here, our virtual loopback device here, where it only accepts audio from OBS. That's pretty much it. Now, once I've closed, let me just close off all these devices here. I'm going to close all of this off, and I'm going to end all of this in the settings here, which you cannot currently see. But I am doing that, and we're going to go through this as a kind of first time initial setup. So we'll do this together, okay? The first thing that we want to do is want to turn on the QSC Touch Mix 8 mixer. The second thing we want to do is to turn on the BK7M arranger. The third thing I want to do is to turn on my wireless microphones. The fourth thing that I want to turn on is to open my Zoom F4 and also make sure that it's set to an audio interface mode. Now, if you have a straight audio interface, you don't have to do the step. You just make sure it's plugged in. If it's a passively powered device, the moment you plug it into your USB device, it's turned on. So you're good. In my case, I have to change it from a field recorder into an audio interface. The next things I want to turn on are my Bluetooth headsets. At this point, because of my setup, and I'll demonstrate how it works a little bit later on, I want to open up Safari with 3 specific tabs in the proper order. And just for the sake of demonstration purposes, my Safari pops up automatically with 3 specific tabs. The first one is my Zoom account, and I'm logged in. This is very important. I'll explain in a few seconds. The second thing is I have my accordionmemories.com website in case I want to show something from my website. My third tab that I have is my YouTube page. So from here, I can open up and show a video if I want to, or discuss a video. The next thing that I want to do is to make absolutely sure that my sound preference or my audio preference is multi-output device. At this point, I'm ready to open up Loopback. Make sure that I have everything here just like you see it. Then I'm going to open up my OBS. I'm going to come into my settings very briefly, into audio, and make sure that it sees the black hole and it sees my audio interface. I'm then going to open up my Zoom page. But you're saying, but Jerry, didn't you already open up your Zoom account here? Yes. One of the tricks to get stereo output from your computer to other people's is that you must be logged in twice. Don't ask me why. This is just an idiosyncrasy with Zoom application, and I have no answer for them. But you have to be logged in twice. So you have to be logged in on the app, and you have to log in on the website. With that, we are now ready to demonstrate how this all works. And we'll do that in the next video. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this part.